Okay, I'm now going to talk about section 3 of how to write the personal project report, which is action. So, the sub-question for criterion C, what is your final product or outcome? Now, in this section, you really don't need to write a lot of information. The key thing here is to collect or to present 5 images of your product and your including your exhibition space, and I would annotate around those images to show what you created and how what you created was a high quality product and outcome, and that it's challenging and that it links to your goal. So you might want to have the images and then focus on some of these elements in and around using text boxes to reduce the number of words, for example. You then also, as a second part to this, you need to say, how does your product link to the global context? So how is it that you have produced a product and how does it link to personal cultural expression, scientific and technical innovation, whatever you've chosen, just a sentence to justify that it does link to that. The next 2 sections are focusing primarily on the ATL skills, thinking and then communication and social. Now, the key to doing well in this criterion is that you need to make sure that you're being specific. In this criterion, you need to talk about how you have and show evidence of how you have demonstrated critical thinking and creative thinking, perhaps. Now, you need to come up with a wide range of detailed and thoughtful examples, and some of these things may link to that. So, have you got examples of where you have identified problems? In your process journal, for example, have you or could you demonstrate how you were a flexible thinker, for example? If you have evidence or you can think of a time where you were, use that as a specific example to demonstrate that critical thinking and write and reflect on that in this paragraph. Secondly, with creative thinking, in the same way, you need to show clear and detailed examples of how you may have demonstrated some of these things. It might be that your project is more creative than critical, and therefore you may solely talk about one of these, mainly only critical or only creative, or you might notice that you've done a bit of both, which is fine. So within the creative thinking skills, you may want to talk about how you used original ideas and then looked at adapting or changing it. You may want to look at how you generated ideas, products or processes. Many of you who came up with design ideas will have definitely demonstrated creative thinking and will be able to demonstrate that from aspects of your process journal where you looked at existing projects and then you looked at what you wanted to do to adapt or to enhance those. Again, within this thinking section, you might want to draw on some of the thinking and the mind maps and the graphic organizers that some of you used that were in the tools on files on ManageBack. The next section is very similar. It's all about specific examples, not just generalizing I'm a good communicator because I talk, but giving specific examples of how and where you did these things with evidence. So for this section, you need to show evidence of regular self-initiated meetings, and your supervisor will make a judgment about this. Were you driving your own project, or did they have to chase you up a lot? You may want to use supervisor feedback to demonstrate how they're impressed by your communication or how you've shown perseverance through the project. It might be that you started off weak in these areas and therefore improved, and you need to demonstrate how you went through that journey. Secondly, you need to demonstrate evidence of communication skills. So using a variety of media or interacting with the different people or showing respect in interactions. That could come into some of the research that you did. That could come into some of the interviews that you came on. It could come into the feedback that you've got from some people. So really start brainstorming how and why and where you did these things. And lastly, you may want to refer to, if you did, collaboration skills. Did you work with anyone? Did you need to respect differences or ideas? Did you have to think about things from different points of view? You might have interviewed someone and they might have challenged or changed the way you thought about what you were going to do. And was there an element of empathy that you needed to demonstrate in dealing with or considering some sensitive issues within your project? You are generally graded in criteria C on your report as well. And as I mentioned in criteria A, you need to make sure that the report is formatted and that the language is clear and concise, because this will be part of how well you've communicated. That concludes how to write criterion C of the personal project report.